We think about it, sort of the question in terms of Earth and economy, and the two of them are inextricably interconnected, so they're not separate. So I would think two areas that comes to mind. One of them is transparency. So in terms of the disclosure numbers that we've seen this year, we have seen roughly about 25,000 entities disclose. Roughly about 23,000 of those are corporates, and the rest of them are subnationals. And that is a 7% increase from last year. A lot of those are based in Asia Pacific, and they represent overall globally about 2/3 of the global market capitalization. What's important, though, is that a lot of the disclosure data is now being put to action. So the data is now informing business and financial decisions within these companies, which I think is great to see. And results speak for themselves. So like we can see, for example, that companies that have disclosed in the past have been able to manage to disclose, to reduce their scope 1 emissions by 2% on an annual basis, whilst the world was going in the opposite direction in about 1% on an average basis. The second area is about commitments, right? So ambition, using the word ambition as opposed to commitments. 4,000 of those companies have made commitments in terms of target setting, right? And while this is really, really good and very positive, the reality is that roughly 35% of those companies are now making inroads and on track to meet those goals. And 10% of those companies have made tangible integrated action in terms of strategy, governance, and delivery. A last point around some study that we actually we put out at the time of Davos this year, at the time of the World Economic Forum. We called it the CDP Corporate Health Check. What the companies that lead in ambition are doing really well, sort of the front runners, that 10%, is they're doing 4 things really well. One, they're committing to climate target setting around 1.5 degrees. 2, they're linking paycheck with environmental KPIs. Thirdly, they are increasing the efforts in internal carbon pricing. And then fourthly, they're also engaging with the supply chains more meaningfully.